Welcome back to SoulBack. This is the R&B podcast. Kyle here, back with Ed. Ed, where is Tom?
I cannot believe, first of all, that we're back. We're
Yeah.
back with a married man. Tom
Yes.
is out. If you didn't know it, yes, we got two in the house
Yes.
now.
Yes. Yes.
And Tom, if you didn't know, his son is now 30. So he is at his son's job, helping him file shelves or whatever he does for a living. It's been that long, players. Like the man is an adult at this point.
It has been a long time, Ed, because I'll tell you what, since the last time we had a podcast, number one, yes, I am a married man.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, Beyonce has dropped an album, which we'll
Yes.
get into.
We will get into that.
Number three, Vince McMahon is no longer the CEO of the WWE or chairman, which is who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Player. I mean, and I'm going to talk about this real quick because
Yeah.
I would have never thought that man would ever tap out because he had to tap out. When all the stuff came out, I was like, he's not going anywhere. Rich old white dude, you can't tell him anything. He's out of here.
Mm-hmm.
What a time 2022 has been.
And Ed, number four, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but the Prince of Darkness, R. Kelly, he's expecting a child. How is this possible? Hasn't he been in jail for the last 2 years? Explain this, Ed.
I don't understand, but I can say that I know that he has a lot of fans who have shown him a lot of support. So some of them fans must have been feeling on the booty behind the bars. I don't know, but something's fishy.
Well, let's start off with this here. The Beyonce album. It's come out. I feel like now is a good time to talk about it. I know we had seen a lot of hot takes on Twitter after 3 hours of it releasing, and
yes,
you know what? That's gonna happen when it's a gigantic release like Beyonce's album, Renaissance. And I had a chance to listen to it. You did as well. You reviewed it, and when I first heard it, I didn't understand it. But Ed, I gotta say, as I listened to it more and more, as a collective body of work, and I'll let you get into your review shortly, but I just gotta say, you know what? I had initially ranked this as like the bottom of the Beyonce. It's definitely better than Sasha Fierce. I said that at first, and I'm sticking with that. But as I listen to it more and more, the songs that I really, really like those songs. But some of those songs that are a little more elementary, is that the right word to use? They're not they're not for me. Like they're too young for me, which is weird because Beyonce's older than me. But all in all, I would say it's not my favorite Beyonce album. I'm gonna always go with the R&B stuff, but do I think it's a 5-star classic right now? No, but I know there's also the other spectrum, which is the DJ Soulchild comments, which is if you like this album, you're trash, and it's not really that either. It's kind of, and we'll get into the ranking later, but for me, it's kind of like in between right now, in the middle.
I'm with you, player. So, as many of you know who have been following this journey with me, of course, you know, Soul and Stereo had to have that review, dropped the review out, and it was what it was. And it's always two sides, player. It's the sides who are like, I agree. I might not. For example, my wife, as you know, biggest Beyonce stan that you know.
Yeah.
She agreed with what I said. She thought my score was a little low. I gave it the dreaded 3.5 of doom.
Oh, man.
But she was like, I feel what you're saying. But then there's the other side who was always like, this is perfection and you are trash for not recognizing its perfection. Player, I had to deal with literal death threats. Death threats, people, over an album review. Are you sick? So I have had a very exhausting couple of weeks dealing with that. But let's get to the quality, like you said. I remember you hit me up right after the album came out. You were like, the album was trash. I was like, it ain't that bad. What it is, though, and I really listened to it front to back for the first time since I reviewed it, because I couldn't, after y'all blew me up and were cussing me out and wished death upon my unborn children, I hadn't even listened to it since I listened to all of my stuff for the review until I think it was yesterday. In fact, I listened to it. And my opinion hasn't really changed. Here's what I think, y'all. An unbiased look at Beyonce's album. Beyonce's album works best, in my opinion, with the sequencing, with
Yep.
the transitions, the
Yes.
stuff that Kyle was saying, a song that you might not feel break my soul, but in that album, when it goes from energy to that, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this rocks. That's because Beyonce knows how to make an album. Not like your boy cousin Chris, who throws 35 tracks out. Not like the game who just 30 tracks out. That's not an album, y'all. That is a dumping
Playlist.
ground of a playlist. That's a playlist.
Yes.
But Beyonce was able to craft an album. And in terms of that, it's well done. If we want to rank song by song, ain't no way her best album. I like pretty much from, I think it's Alien Superstar to Virgo's Groove. That like 5 or 6 track kind of section. Yeah, that is the album at its best. The stuff before that, kind of goofy, and stuff after that, kind of late, heated, thick. All that stuff is like sleepy time to me. But that middle section is great, and I know everything she does is perfect. I know every album that she comes out with is her best album. Y'all said Lemonade was her best. Y'all said this is her best. Let's give it a few months until everybody calms down. I think it ranks comfortably in the middle of her discography.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad.
Nope. And a couple of things that a great point. I agree. It's in the middle, but I think for me, what's impressive about Beyonce, because this podcast is not all about just criticizing, because I mean we like to critique, but I will give Beyonce this, and I'm curious who else you think is in this list of artists that actually have this like filter, because a lot of artists these days, they will just drop whatever. They don't really have a team or something that they can funnel through to as a quality control thing. I think Tom said Mariah is one that has quality control. Beyonce definitely has quality control. Who else in your mind would you say has that quality control factor, that you know that even if they drop an album, it might not be your favorite album, but it'll never be trash per se?
You know, the person that I would have said until a couple years ago would have been Usher. And I don't know what happened those past couple years, but that he was one that I felt like even if the album was just okay, like Raymond versus Raymond, or an album I liked and y'all didn't, like Looking for Myself, there's still good stuff. You always find a climax, or There Goes My Baby. There's always something that's like, this is great, even if you don't love the album, which is fine. Different strokes for different folks. You got your joint. But it never was just mess. And I feel like so many of even our veterans today, our legacy artists, man, come on, y'all. We're so busy chasing trends, we're not doing enough to put together cohesive, solid bodies of work. And whether, I said on Twitter, I thought that the Beyonce album is a tad overrated, a tad, because y'all doing the most. But if nothing else, she's teaching y'all how to put together albums again. So I don't have to hear these little children telling me that Chris Brown has 3 great songs. This album is a classic. 3 great songs out of 40 is not a good album. But transitions, 15, 16 strong songs, actually cohesive, all the songs. If you heard a song just randomly, you would say, oh, that's probably from the Renaissance album, because it sounds like the Renaissance album. She's teaching y'all how to put albums together again. So props to the Horsey album for that.
Yes. Album cover is fire, Ed.
Okay. Fire?
There's a horse, Ed.
It's a horse. It looks like it's made out of constellations. It looks like my grandma would have candy in it on her coffee table. Just take the head off and there's little peppermints in the inside.
Have you ever played Mario Paint for the
Super
Nintendo? Yeah, yes. Maybe she drew it on that and just slapped it on.
Yeah, your mentions a Doom player. They're gonna come for you for that.
But speaking of Mario Paint, I just remember, wasn't there a game where you like slap like wasps or like flies in that game? It was like a mini game.
Yes, it was a mini game. I remember this. Shout out to Mario Paint.
That's a great game. Mario, just like Beyonce, has done it all. Mario has played soccer. He's played basketball. Tennis, and then he's done it all.
He's been in RPGs as a piece of paper. There's nothing that Mario hasn't done.
So are we saying that Super Mario Brothers is Beyonce?
I would pretty much dare say that.
I mean, they're both massive franchises at this point, Ed.
Exactly. Now, I think that agreed when it comes to massive franchises, but until Beyonce puts out a Super Mario 3, I'm not in the conversation. She ain't got a Mario 3 in her discography player.
That's true. That is true. Um, what's interesting about this album here, and I want to give Beyonce some more props, is that, and what's interesting is that she hasn't even dropped the visuals for this album yet, and nor has she announced the tour dates. So
Nope.
I think this album has some legs. Like a lot of albums that we see these days from Silk Sonic, some of these major releases like Chris Brown's album, it falls into that cycle of it comes out for 2 weeks and nobody talks about it anymore. It's interesting what Beyonce did here. She released the music first, let people live with it. You're seeing the memes and the quotes on Twitter now. The visuals haven't even come out yet, which is gonna add a different element to it.
Yep.
Then when the concerts come and the tours, this could last a while if Beyonce plays her cards right. I don't know what the next single would be if, because people don't really put out singles like that anymore. Break My Soul just hit #1. Where do we go from here, Ed? How
Well,
how how do we make this as big as possible?
well, two things. So first of all, we do have to recognize that Beyonce is Beyonce, so she can
Yes.
get away with stuff that Mario couldn't do or whomever. Like they just couldn't pull off what she pulled off.
No.
However, it is still, like I said about the albums, this I feel like is a teachable moment for not just R&B, for everybody. Look what she did. She put out an actual single before it dropped. The single was good, and she pushed the single. She had the single, she had the Vogue magazine cover. There was actual buzz about the project that was coming. Then she dropped a release date well ahead of time. Not, oh, my album coming out Friday, like some of y'all do, Megan Thee Stallion and them. Oh, albums. I was like, what? Oh, your album coming out Friday. So she had a lead time. Remember, she had physical copies and the album leaked and people freaked out and they were like, oh my God, the album leaked. It leaked because it was an old school rollout. There were physical copies, people in France up there making copies and sending it out. Shout out to 2005, because that was how we got all of our early leaks. But everything followed that. The album dropped, it got good reviews. Now she's gonna come with the visuals. She had a little teaser for that. She's doing it old school, but most of all, she's staggering them. So the conversation still continues. She's not like, oh, my album out. Oh, here's the album. There's a week of memes, and now I'll talk about no more. Every week she's adding something new to the conversation. Y'all need to be paying attention. So where do we go from here? I think she continues. I saw some rumors that Act 2 was dropping at the end of the month. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Because that messes up everything. Like that kills the momentum of this album. Why would she do that? So instead, what she needs to do, she drops the visuals, let the visuals do their thing. Then, maybe in a couple months, drop some more visuals for another song. Unless she's dropping them all at once. I don't know what she's doing. She's a crazy woman. Who knows what she's doing? But if I were her, I would drop the visuals for this, drop another batch of visuals that are completely different that everybody can meme and put on the little TikToks a few months from now. And there you go. That's how you continue. It ain't rocket science, y'all. Everybody's like, oh, that's old. That's not going to work today. It'll work today if you just modify it.
And shout outs to Sabrina Claudio and Sid for the Plastic song. That's a good song, Ed.
It's a good song. One of my favorite songs. That one, Church Girl, Cuff It, Virgo's Groove. Like I said, I like that middle. That middle part of the album is good.
Yeah. One of the records that has caused a lot of controversy lately is Energy, which sampled, I think, Milkshake by Khalees. I think that's what the sample was, because I read Get Along With You. I can't hear that. I can hear Milkshake. I can't hear Get Along With You.
I couldn't hear Get Along With You either, but I could sort of hear Milkshake for like 2 seconds.
It has that la 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 part, which is
true.
Yeah, so that caused a lot of controversy. And Ed, we're not here to talk about contracts and what happened or what didn't happen. As you can see with the hat and the whole thing, I'm Star Trek affiliated no matter what. So whether it's Khalees, whether it's the Neptunes, I'm on both sides of this. But it is interesting, and it brings in another conversation, because when you look at the credits for that song and maybe some of the other songs on this album, there's like 20 writers on the song, and what people don't realize is, a fraction of that might be the people that actually worked on the song, and the rest are just samples. And Nothing wrong with a good sample, Ed.
Nothing wrong. I find it funny the pushback we're seeing on samples now.
Yeah.
Like, y'all know that like your favorite songs, the 90s, the era that we love to like lift up on the pedestal, all that stuff is sampled from the 70s. Nothing wrong with a sample. Nothing wrong with giving credit for a sample. I'm cool with that. So as long as you do it correctly. Now, if you're sampling something and doing a poor job and trampling over it, that's one thing. But no, show them love. That's what it's here for. And I was going to say something about the Khalees thing. You all Star Trek'd out, so I won't say that. But I'll just say this. Just let the song was a thing and they took her off. So I hope she's happy. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
And I'll sip my water on that.
But what is good about this Beyonce album, even with the samples, and Ed, I have to go on my rant here. This is the married life old man rant.
Oh, welcome, player.
And I don't know if this was always a thing, it may have been, but like, man, when I listen to some of these songs that are sampled now that sample like older songs, and I don't want to single this person out, but this is the only one that comes to mind right now. Have you heard Tink's song? It's called Cater, I think.
No, I have not heard that.
So it samples Cater to You by Destiny's Child.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole song just sounds like Cater to You by Destiny's Child from Let Me Cater to You. Like she's using the same words.
That ain't a good sample, y'all.
It's to me, and I love Tink, and I can't wait to hear the album because that's coming out soon too. And I think she's super talented. But this keeps happening in music today where it just feels lazy to me because I get it. If you take the beat, if you take the sample, you add drums to it and you flip it completely into a different song, like something like Irv Gotti did back in the day with Foolish by Ashanti. Yes. It is. It's a DeBarge record. It's the Biggie record, like, but it's a completely different song. What I'm hearing today is a lot of, here's the beat that we've heard before. Let me use the hook of what we heard before. And let's just add a little bit of spice to it just to make it slightly different, but it's the same song. Chris Brown did that quite a bit, you know, starting with like the Fame album with She Ain't You and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I just see that so much now, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting old and I can just recognize the sample right away, or if it's becoming more common, but to me, it seems lazy.
Well, we becoming our parents. It's the same people that were like, that ain't nothing but Roberta Flack. That ain't nothing but Patrice. That ain't nothing but the Isley Brothers. We are becoming our parents because we recognize it. So we don't hear something new. We immediately think of the original song. Again, I'm okay with samples, though. Y'all can't be lazy with it. If you're going to sample Cater to You, you want to chop up the beat, you want to chop up the chorus. If you want to turn it, instead of Cater to You, you turn it in a song called To You, and you just take something new from that formula. That's cool. If you just singing a Cater to You hook, player, that's called karaoke. I ain't here for it.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it too. But honestly, the only producer that I know that does that like really often is Hitmaker, and he's made like a career off that. He
has.
Yeah. So it might be Hitmaker that, and maybe he's the problem. But
Hitmaker is a problem for many things, but I'll leave that one alone.
So shout outs to Hitmaker. Shout outs to Beyonce too. And we talk about Data Dump and a lot of different albums that have now contained like 30 songs or so.
Trash.
Are there particular artists that can get away with that? Because like Nas back in the day dropped double albums. I don't know if it was 30 songs, but double albums. DMX dropped 2 albums in 1 year. So that is still a lot of content. R&B artist Chris Brown will drop his 30-something song albums. And you know what the intent is. Drake does that as well. But for me, I think it kind of like, where the line is drawn for me is when I see people like John Legend now dropping double albums. I love, you know what? You know how I feel about John Legend.
I know how you feel.
But I've always respected his artistry, and I said that's not for me. But now you're just rubbing it in my face if you're doing a double album full of this stuff. I don't need 2 albums of that stuff. 30 songs. That's a lot of songs here, Ed.
That's a lot of songs. However, I will say this. One of my favorite albums of all time, in my opinion, one of the best hip-hop albums of all time, is Biggie's Life After Death. It is a double album. It's like, I don't know, 27, 28 songs. It's a bunch of songs. Wu-Tang's second album, a double album, a whole bunch of songs. I think I had it like 4.5 stars. Like it's close to 5 stars. It can be done.
Yeah.
But the difference is, it's the same thing that I'm saying about the Beyonce album. Make it feel like an album. Make it feel like a cohesive story. You listen to Life After Death, it's literally a story about Biggie. It starts where like he thought he was dead and now he's getting new life and he's having fun and enjoying life. But then near the end of the album, like death catches up to him and it's sad because it's real life. But there's a story being told. There's diversity in the songs. There's peaks and valleys, highs and lows, but everything sounds consistent. It's just album making. Like
Yeah.
there's a difference between that and dropping a whole bunch of songs and half of the songs sound like filler that should not have made the album. Alicia Keys, I love you. I gave you a 5-star review in 2000 and
Three.
whatever it was.
2,
Three.
3. Yeah.
Yes. She was I crowned her the queen of R&B for the 2000s. She was incredible. That last album is not the business. And that was a double album because, again, it sounded like a bunch of stuff for the sake of having stuff. If you have 30 tracks and you're saying something, cool. If you're like, I'm going to come out with 30 tracks because it's going to jack up my streaming numbers, we can tell, and it's going to suck. So I don't know what John Legend going to do. I like John Legend a lot more than my boy here, but I'm not looking forward to 30 tracks from him. I'm sorry.
Well, here's my other thing, and this is a challenge to all the R&B artists out here. If you're gonna drop a 30-something song album, at least make the songs like full songs, because when I listen to some of these albums now, like Neo's album, which was only like 18 songs, so maybe he's not part of the problem. But even some of the songs I really liked, like Handle Me Gently, that song clocks in at 3 minutes. I want songs that feel full, 4 minutes, even extend it to 6 if you want, like that one record off Beyonce's album. Was it Virgo Gem? Is that what it's called?
Virgo's Groove, yes.
I need songs like that again. I'm tired of these 2-minute and 30-second songs. And if you put that on a 30 song album, none of it is going to stick out because it's all just going to, even before you get to enjoy it, you're moving on to the next thing.
Let me show you what I was listening to. Can you see it?
Wow.
Yes. Classic, 5 stars. You know why this succeeds? Because there are songs that have a verse and another verse and a bridge and another verse, and it feels like a complete song. I have heard the theory behind the short songs. I have heard that, like, oh, you got to keep it short because attention spans are low and everybody's an idiot and we can't listen to something longer than 30 seconds or we'll flip a blah, 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 and it helps with streaming. I just want a complete experience. And some of these songs are good, but they turn off too fast. And then when I do my reviews and I kind of lock the score down and people get mad, I'm like, no, I like the song too, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Like I want an artist like Neo who we know is capable of doing such. Man, give us a little bit more if you can. I'm not saying every song got to be 10 minutes long, but if there's more to it, give us more because we know that you can do that.
Well, here's the thing, Ed. First of all, the other thing we're missing, we talk about the lack of bridges a lot, but you know what I really miss?
What's that?
Back in the 90s, on like an R&B ballad, that last hook, they would do ad-libs and they would like go nuts. They don't do that anymore.
The ad-libs and the runs, and they would go crazy, and that would be the best part. That would be like the icing on the cupcake. That isn't even the icing, because the icing is already, this is the cherry on the top. This is just blop. But it's just something that whenever you think of the songs, when people kind of like, you know, if you're like mimicking a Jodeci song or whatever, and you're mimicking that, you're always still in the ad-libs from the end, because those are always the most fulfilling. But I don't know if it's like people aren't capable. I don't know if the songwriters aren't familiar with it anymore. Right. I don't know if young artists just didn't even know this exists. I don't know, but it's missing out. And again, it's another element to R&B that's just a simple thing that takes these songs to the next level. And y'all wonder why I say these songs sound so flat and they just sound like conversations, because there's not enough oomph on them. Put some stank on these songs, man.
And then the other thing is this, right? It's like you talk a lot about like business wise, it makes more sense to drop a record that's 2 minutes and 15 seconds long because you can hit repeat and keep streaming it over again. Attention spans are shorter. But I'm willing to bet, and this is just how I listen to music, if it's a song that you really enjoy and it's quality, even if it's, I'll use the 112 album, for example. Now That We're Done, that's like the second song off the album.
Yep.
Because that song is so good, you don't notice that it's 5 minutes, and 5 minutes isn't really that long to me, but you don't notice that it's 5 minutes long because that song captures your attention. You just listen, you're like, I wonder what's next. It's like a movie pretty much, right? Like you want to know what happens. So when I listen to albums and songs now, it feels like they're really short because it's not giving me everything that I need. It just cuts off really quickly, or they're cutting something off to get straight to the hook. It's weird. It's tough for me to listen to today's music for that reason because yes, there's the singing and stuff and that's lacking, but it's also just the structure and it doesn't always have to be the same structure, but it feels like something is missing there for me.
It's the construction. I talk about it
Yeah.
all the time. It's the construction of the songs. And honestly, the Beyonce album, I had some issues with some of those songs. And,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, yeah, just making up stuff to be mad about. No, there are some songs that I felt like could have been constructed better. And it's not that what we got was bad. It's just like it could have been better. You're talking about Now That We're Done. Yeah, that's a 5-minute song. But it's so funny how my ear has been trained because I'll listen to that song and I won't realize it's 5 minutes because I know that song. I love that song. It's nostalgia. It's great. No. But if I do hear like a 5-minute song today, sometimes I will be like, this song long? And I'll look and it'll be like 4.5 minutes because I'm so trained to hear these 2-minute songs. And it's weird how like we're being reconditioned. And to me, not for the better. It ain't for the better.
But you know what, Ed? Chris Brown, he will be able to come through. Not with this album. This latest album wasn't for me. There were a couple of good songs here, but Ed, he's gotten some new money from his meet and greets. Have you seen? I saw you at the VIP line for those meet and greet pictures. You paid $1,000?
First of all, I don't know what line you saw. I wouldn't pay $1,000. I saw Keith Sweat and took a photo with him for free. For free. I ain't paying $1,000 for nobody. However, somebody's coming out of the pocket, so I would say good for them. But you see how much gas costs, and y'all giving cousin Chris that much to hug him? He must be nice. That's the best hustle I've ever seen.
Will you be getting any Christmas money from Chris Brown?
Well, I'm sure once he sees my review of his last album, that will be taken away. And I didn't hate because I don't think we talked about the album. No. Like I didn't hate this album. I thought this album was better than the last 2 or 3 monstrosities.
Yes.
But your boy got a long way to go before he gets to exclusive level. Trust me.
We'll get there soon, Ed. The funding is here now. This is like this is a better version of a GoFundMe. Like I'd rather pay for this than pay for that TLC album on GoFundMe.
Oh my God, I forgot about the TLC. The Lifesavers album. I forgot about
that album cover. I could have made that.
It looked like a pack of Lifesavers, some Fruit Stripe gum. Come on, y'all TLC. You could have lined up against the wall. I could have taken a picture with my iPhone. Yeah. You could have done better than that.
Ed, isn't Cut Close? Didn't they start a GoFundMe recently?
Shout out to my girls. I ain't gonna say nothing bad about my girls. Shout out to my girls.
Keith Sweat could have at least charged you $50. That could have went towards the Cut Close album.
Shout out to my girls. Tabitha on Instagram getting all her reps in at the gym. Like they doing their thing. I ain't seen that album yet, and they have been fundraising for a year. I don't know what's going on.
Man. Some more music. I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Link. He dropped a new song, Garage, featuring Mike Jones. That seems like a very odd collaboration, but they did it. Well, they're both from Houston, so there's that, I think.
I was gonna say there is a connection, but who Mike Jones? It's been a long time since I've seen that brother.
There you go. And then Men at Large dropped an album as well.
No, listen, shout out to Men at Large. I like this album a lot. I am going to give some props to this album. I thought this album was really fun. And they are, they got The voices are holding up. They got a little bit of energy going on. They got some modern sounding songs that don't sound ridiculous. Shout out to Minute Lodge. I thought that was a fun album.
And then speaking of other groups here, Ed, RSVP. Those are my guys.
Oh boy.
Ed,
Your boys. Your boys.
So here's the thing. Let me paint the picture for you.
Please paint the picture for those who missed
Because we're
this
cool with
conversation.
Sammie. Sammie's my guy. Bobby V's my guy. Pleasure P's my guy. Don't really know Ray J. We've never really interacted with him, but I was on an Instagram live with them this was like their first time like coming together as a group. It was their like press conference. I get in there and Bobby V sees me, sees the You Know I Got Soul thing, has joined. So he's just like, oh man, shout out to You Know I Got Soul, blah, blah, blah. Sammie's like, shout out to them. Pleasure P's like, those are my guys. And then Ray J out of nowhere is like, wait, what's You Know I Got Soul?
Oh my God.
So live on the podcast, Bobby V had to like give him a lecture on like, these are the guys that are repping R&B, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, after that happened, I'm like, I'm verified. I'm validated. So I left after. But Ed, I want to talk about this super group right here because, and this is why I think they will actually succeed here. Just hear me out here.
Do your thing, because these your people.
This group came together because they were getting criticized like crazy online for their performance on Versus.
God, yes.
And instead of turning it into a negative thing, they came together and said, you know what? Let's prove them wrong. Let's put this group together and let's make it happen. I'm still not quite sure what Ray J is there for because some of those vocals were sounding pretty rough on Versus, but I also get it on a business standpoint. Ray J knows what he's doing. And hey,
I know
Bobby
he knows
V,
how to sell earphones. Other than that, I don't know what else he's doing.
Sunglasses too, apparently, but Ray J
please.
knows what he's doing. And he's related to Brandy, so the Brandy fans will listen. But Ed,
True.
Can this album, this super group work? Knowing what we know about just because no one's giving them a fair shot too, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, and let me clear that up.
Yeah.
Number one, I love Bobby V. I don't have a personal stake in the rest of them like you do. Bobby V, he's been on the podcast a couple of times.
Yeah.
Love Bobby V. He's all good. And I think he's very underrated from that 2000s group of artists.
Yep.
You kind of think of him as having the 2 songs and that's it. No, Bobby V got some joints back there behind me. So Bobby V is great. However, the reason why I'm skeptical isn't even because, there's Versus and they can't sing. That's whatever. Versus was Versus. The reason why I'm skeptical, and I want my boys to prove me wrong on this one, including you, Ray J, is that how many supergroups have we seen that were supposed to come out and never did nothing? Where is the Carl Thomas, Dave Hollister, and it was somebody else group? What happened to Queen with my girl Kelly Price and Tamia and all them? Every time we hear about a supergroup, fans like get really excited and it's like, this is gonna be great. We never even really got the Player and Drew Hill album.
That's true.
Smoking the Black Dragon. We never got that. So there are so many supergroups that we hear about. We see them in the studio. We see them on IG. They do their thing, and whether it's politics or whatever, it just never happens. So that's why my expectations are tempered. They don't have nothing to do with their quality of their performances, because they all 4 have songs I like. Even Ray J. There's 1 or 2 songs from them I like.
Sexy Can I? You like Sexy Can I?
No, I don't like Sexy Can I.
The One Wish record? Well, I gotta figure, not even One Wish?
Not at all One Wish. I didn't like
the Neptune
One Wish.
songs. Do you like the Little Kim song?
I like the Lil Kim song.
There you
go. I like the Lil Kim. And there's a song on the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack. I can't remember that I really like.
Okay.
This is like young Ray J. However, the reason why I'm skeptical is because these groups just never happen. Like, we never see them come to fruition for the next step. If we get a single, we get a video, we get an album. Other than TGT, about 10 years ago, I can't think of another supergroup that actually landed and stuck the landing. So we shall see. In the meantime, your boy ain't getting his hopes up.
So the thing I'll say about RSVP is, and I'm afraid to suggest it because it could turn into a train wreck, they need a reality show.
Oh, no,
Ed,
no.
Between Ray J, who is a personality, Pleasure P, Bobby V, and Sammie, they just want to fight anybody that like talks bad about them.
Yes, they do.
Like, I love that generation of R&B. That's what I grew up on. But every single one of them, except Lloyd, because Lloyd's like super humble and he stays to himself. Every single one of them, they just want to fight. They have this chip on their shoulder, and I don't know where that comes from, but every single one of them, and it's not a bad thing. It keeps them competitive and whatnot. But every single one of them has a chip on their shoulder. You put that on a reality TV show, Ed, it could be something.
That's true. And for someone who, and you know this, who is very, even when Sammie and all these guys are out of the public eye, like we know them and we know that Jay Holiday's another one. Like all these guys are just wound up. And we know that. So when the stuff with Mario was happening with Versus and people were like, I didn't know that Mario was so hardcore and was such a G. We knew Mario was like that because we know that entire generation is on one. A reality show would be dope. It would get a lot of attention. I would watch it, but I don't think it's helpful for the brand because I want it to be about the music. I don't want it to be about Ray J not showing up. I don't want Bobby V and Sammie about to fight. I don't want people saying 702 can't sing and that whole mess with that. They're like, just give me the music. I'm so tired of the Twitter drama. But to your point, it would blow up. It would do very well.
I mean, it would be like what was that? Encore, the show with Cherish. It would be like that on 10.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on your girls Cherish.
Oh man!
And y'all swore that album. Oh, that album is going to be the album of the year. Y'all forgot about it in a week, just like I predicted.
Wait, pop quiz for you, Ed. What was the name of that group?
The Blueprint.
There you go.
I had to think very hard, but yes, the Blueprint.
Because Ed, we have to talk about one of the members of the Blueprint, Keely from 3LW. Did you hear that? Did we hear that Taylor Swift is getting sued by the writers of Players Gonna Play?
Yes, I heard this.
Ed, isn't that your song? That's your theme song.
Yes, because it has my catchphrase in it. But what made me mad, and see now, here we go. The following comments are of Edward T. Bowser of soulandstereo.com.
And Ed, hold on. Let me just put a disclaimer here. It is not 3LW that's suing Taylor Swift. It's the writers that are suing Taylor Swift. So 3LW gets no hate in this. We love 3LW.
No, I love 3LW, and that's why I'm about to get mad because apparently Taylor Swift said she didn't know who a 3LW was until this lawsuit. Let me tell you something, young lady. You go in the 2000s and you go pull up that album that's back here somewhere, and I'm gonna pull out that the debut album. That was a fun album. I need you to show that some love and do some music history here, Miss Taylor.
Hold up.
Swifties or whatever you are.
Hold up.
How old is Keely?
How old is Taylor Swift? She's like my age. Hold on.
I don't know anything about Taylor Swift.
There is no way she doesn't know 3LW.
She claims that she had never heard of 3LW.
Hold on. She's actually a year older than me. There's no way. There's no way.
You cannot be your age, Kyle, and I know who the Cheetah Girls are. Somebody
that's not possible.
Somebody lying.
Yeah.
So no, she don't front on my girls, Swifties. So I know the Swifties are gonna be in my DMs, pitching fits and casting murder, because that's what happens to me. But I don't care about your queen. I'm mad at her. We're not gonna come for 3LW. Those my girls.
And in the court of SoulBack, I would say she's guilty. She was biting. But that's
yes. Today you're guilty. We're calling you guilty because you disrespect my girls. Player, please.
Ed, we got to talk about the Millennium tour that is about to kick off here.
You mean all 84 members of the New World Order? I saw that list.
Ed, how did the list go from 6 people from the last tour to 15?
Good.
How did that happen?
That show is gonna be 5 hours long if they sing one song each. What is this?
So Ed, can we go down the lineup, the list of what we're seeing here?
Make sure you take a deep breath before you read the list. But go ahead.
All right. So Bow Wow will be headlining it. Mario is on there as well. Omarion appears to be missing. So I guess Mario just took his spot after Versus, I guess. But
yes, he just literally punched him out of there.
Carrie Hilson will be on stage. That's good to see that Carrie's actually performing again. Hopefully that leads to new music. But I'm happy to see Carrie Hilson
Yeah,
back on
y'all
stage.
hate on Carrie and Keisha Cole. I think we did that generation of female R&B artists in the 2000s. Y'all do them so dirty. A. Marie too. Stop hating on Carrie.
So then we have Lloyd, Pleasure P, Bobby V, and Sammie. Ray J is an omission, but Lloyd is there. Does that mean Ray J got kicked out already?
I think Ray J probably got kicked out himself, knowing Ray J. He's over there selling flip down sunglasses or something. I don't know what's going on with that man. But I'm happy to see Lloyd in it.
Ed, hypothetically, if Ray J wasn't a part of RSVP and it was Lloyd, and I guess the name would have to be something different.
Yes.
Would it have more credibility to R&B fans if Lloyd was there instead of Ray J?
I mean, it depends on credibility. I think that fans of artistry would be like, yes, it would have credibility. But when it comes to notoriety, probably not, because unfortunately, I think for kind of the mainstream, they lump in Lloyd with Bobby V. They're like, oh, he had that song with Ashanti that one time. And the song with Lil Wayne, you know, she's 5'2" or whatever they keep saying. But then they give him no other credit for the great albums that came before and after. So unfortunately, Ray J will get all the headlines.
All right, so if that wasn't enough for you, Ed, because I personally think like that's a tour right there. The next line we have the Yin Yang Twins, Chingy. Your favorite group, them Franchise Boys. We will see you lean with it, rock with it after this podcast.
I will hope not.
Ed, Little Scrappy.
Little Scrappy. I was watching freaking AEW the other day, and Little Scrappy is up there. I did not realize he had stepped from reality show into a wrestling show, but I guess he got to sing his 2 or 3 songs.
And Travis Porter.
Travis Porter. I didn't even know Travis Porter was showing up.
There you go. And we're not done yet. We have 2 more lines to go here.
Who else?
We've got Cry Mob and Trillville.
Cry Mob and Trillville is gonna sing some cut? Like what? How can we get away with this? Is this show PG or is it rated R?
And in small fine print here, the reunion of Day 26.
I saw that.
Come on.
Like, why is Day 26 relegated to the footnotes of footnotes? If you are doing a term paper, they would be in that tiny print underneath the paragraph. The reunion of Day 26. Show them brothers a little bit more love.
Come on, Ed. That should be like the hype about this whole thing is that Day 26 is reuniting. Don't just put them at the end.
Trillville gets more love than Day 26. We are hard times player. And I like Trillville's one song.
Well, let's look at Billboard. I think Trillville has a bigger hit than Day 26 ever did.
Probably.
Yeah. It's a shame, Ed. The song you like is Some Cut. Yep, that was a big song.
That was the only big song. If there was anything else, I would.
No, there was that other one. Never Ever. Remember that one with Lil Jon?
No, I thought that was Trillville. For some reason, no, I'm thinking of No Problem.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Scrappy.
That's Scrappy. Yeah, Scrappy's on that one too, though.
Okay, yes. I'm conflating all of my annoying 106 in Park rappers.
Yes. The 2 previous Millennium tours have been a success. Do you think this one will be the same, or has it become too much now? Like, I don't think you really need 12 acts. Actually, this is 15 acts. I don't think you need 15 acts on a show.
I don't think you need 15 acts. And with every tour like this, they're diminishing returns because you've seen it once, you've seen it twice, you've seen it 3 or 4 times. And adding a bunch of randoms is not going to help. I don't see this one being anywhere near as big as the others, but
yeah.
Hey, if Trillville can get some cutting money, good for them.
You know what? And that's what I'm gonna say. It's good for these artists that they have an opportunity to still perform because, man, it's tough out here. And these concerts, that's their way of making money. So if they can do it, I'm all for it. Because Ed, I just found out, Jaquan. Do you remember Jaquan?
How can I forget Jaquan, the man that stole one of the greatest beats of all time and made a lame version? Yes, I know Jaquan.
So he actually performs with Nelly every show that he performs at because they're somehow related. I think they're both from St. Louis. And Nelly brings him out for 2 songs, the Tipsy song and Ed, one of the greatest hip-hop songs ever. This is an anthem apparently at hoods. I've never been in a hood, so I can't confirm this. But it's the song Hood Hop. Is that a hood anthem?
It's a hood anthem if you are of a certain age. I am too old to be doing the hood hop. But I'm interested in you saying that because a couple weeks ago, we had this big event here in Birmingham, the World Games, and Nelly performed. And there was a guy on stage, and I didn't know who he was, but he looked very familiar in the way I was like in the press box, so I couldn't really like see him. It was like I was seeing the side of him. Was that Jay Quan? He didn't like announce him. Nelly only did like 2 songs, and the other person was kind of just a hype man. But was that Jay Quan? Now I got to go back and watch the video.
It may have been Murphy Lee. Let's be honest.
I know what Murphy Lee looked like. It won't Murphy Lee.
Maybe one of the other lunatics then.
It won't the dude in the hockey mask. I know him.
Oh yes,
that's the only one I remember. The dude in the mask.
Yes. Ed, so Tom made a very interesting comment once upon a time. He says that he can no longer listen to sad, slow, sappy songs, and this is because he's married now. He lives a happy life. He doesn't want to remember that stuff. As a married man now, I don't know if I can agree with that because I still listen. You just listen to 112, so you're on the same boat as me.
Yes.
How do we feel about toxic songs like that new Division record?
Oh my gosh!
If I get caught cheating, that don't mean I don't. There is some validity to that. Let's be honest.
Well, this is usually we haven't done this in a long time.
Oh,
so
man.
as I do, number one. Well, actually, I just did this. The following opinions are that of Edward T. Bowser of soulandstereo.com and not of I Got Soul. So keep that in mind. Send your hate mail my way because I will ignore it. So this song, we were just talking about this song in the Soul and Stereo Cypher on Facebook. Shout out to the Cypher because I haven't shouted them out yet. If you like this podcast, go join us in the Cypher. You'll have fun. Everybody, there was a conversation that there were no fans of this song. And of course, someone, I can't remember who, blame my head, not my heart, whoever it was. And was like, I actually love this song. This song is great. And I'm like, there's always one weirdo who's got to like a song. And he was saying that like, oh, the song, y'all are just being like grumpy and like there's nothing wrong. And there have been toxic songs in the history of music. I don't have any problem with the song being toxic per se. The problem I have with this song, and I saw JD, and I'm a huge JD fan, so no beef to JD. I saw him
I saw this. I saw that too.
JD, I don't have a problem with the song being toxic. I know that it's speaking to the times, whatever. I don't like the song because it's written lazily. It sounds so lazy. We talked about being lazy production and lazy. They take the Jay-Z line from whatever song it was, Song Cry. Whatever.
Song Cry, yep.
Use it in the laziest way possible. It sounds like a song I made up while I was folding clothes, talking to my wife, and being goofy. Like, it does not sound like a well put together song. And knowing the team that crafted that song, who we know has made classic songs, y'all just got to do better. And then Tiny and what's a girl
Candy,
like made their own version.
That. Yeah.
And that was just as bad. It's not that the song is like, oh, we're against toxic songs. I do think that there is a generation, because there is a generation of fans behind you, Kyle, behind you.
Yes.
That grew up with this type of music and they're starting to age out of it. So all of those stands that used to yell at me in the mid 2010s when I was like, oh, this is stupid. Now like, oh man, shut up. But now that they're in their early 20s and they're like, I want a love song. I want a song that celebrates where I am in my life and not just juvenile stuff. So I think that's why we're seeing this bigger pushback, because our generation already didn't like it. The younger generation is getting tired of it. And when it comes down to it, just give me a well-written song, a well-produced song, a well-performed song. It's just lazy. That's my beef with it.
Yeah, because like to me, I know a lot of people have problems with the hook. I don't really have a lot of problem. I mean, there's that choir, which consists of like Nelly and JD and all these random people. They just start singing. I didn't have a problem with that because I understand the intent of it. If you play that song at the club, people are gonna sing along to that. It's catchy, and so I get that. The lyrics, for me, I would like something that's a little more in depth, because I think it was basically what he was saying was very surface level to me. Like, I wish they could go deeper into it. but I'll be honest, even when I read the lyrics here, it's not like anything that he's saying is wrong here, Ed. You wouldn't want me if you thought I never had hoes. Is that true?
I can't speak for the ladies in the house. Maybe that's true.
Yes.
Maybe that's true. I can't speak for that.
But I just wish that they would have dove deeper into it and told a story about the whole situation as opposed to just stating. It almost felt like they were just stating like Wikipedia facts about women behavior.
It sounded like some dude talking to his boys in his DMs and they just put a beat to it.
Yeah.
That's cool in your DMs. I don't want to hear that as a song. Where's Adina Howard? Adina's back here somewhere. She is the freak of all freaks in 95. Yeah. And even though every song she had was about sex, she at least did it something like, she had a song, My Up and Down. You know what she's talking about. But she does it in a way and merry-go-round and blah, 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 blah. And in the video, she's like doing all these weird gymnastic dances. Like, you can do it, but you have to put some artistry to it. Not just sounding like you're just talking to your boys on a text message. That's why I don't like it. It's very shallow.
Mm-hmm. And I got a question for you here. Because LMA dropped an album, Lucky Day dropped an album, India Shawn just dropped her album. It's loved amongst R&B fans, I think, right now, but there's no reach to this album, to these albums. And it's starting to become a problem because there's really no life. The shelf life for these albums just keeps getting less and less to the point where, like, that Lucky Day album was a phenomenal album to me. No one's talking about that album anymore. That's a problem to me.
It's so frustrating. I have to look at my list, but it may be the top R&B album of the year. Maybe. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that might be my number one R&B album this year. I have to check my standing, so to speak. Yeah. But I haven't heard India's yet. I heard hers was great. I loved her EP last year. Yeah. But there's some great music. I thought that my girl Lady Ray, Nicole Ray, her album is great. Eric Roberson is great. Black Radio 3 was good. Sid was good. There's lots of good R&B albums. Shout out to Men at Large. I like their album too. Oh yeah. There were some good R&B albums besides Beyonce. Beyonce's okay. Yeah. Mary J was okay. But beyond the big names, there's some great music, but it goes back to what I was saying with Beyonce, and I don't know how to crack this code. Beyond just like the hardcore of the most hardcore R&B fans, these albums aren't getting any traction. And then we see fans that are saying, like, man, I'm tired of these division songs. I'm tired of just all this toxic stuff and the surface stuff. You go listen to Lucky. You go listen to Nicole. You go listen to Arrow. You go listen to Sid. We don't even have to be talking about artists of my generation. We can talk about younger artists too. Shout out to Kevin Ross whenever he does something. But there are younger artists doing it too, but they just don't get the love and the support. And I don't know. To me, the only way to break this mold is for an artist of the stature, and that's why I keep saying, an artist of the stature of a Beyonce, maybe an Usher, someone with a big stature saying, you know what? I'm going to actually, we joke about bringing R&B back. There has to be someone who comes to bring the spotlight back on that sound for real. Not it's R&B, but I'm rapping, or it's R&B and I'm reading a text message. And then once we get more ears on that sound, then maybe this other generation can be like, oh, this Lucky Day dude is dope. Oh, this Nicole Ray, she dope. That's the only way, because right now there's a lot of talent that's going underutilized. And it makes me sad. I'm looking at y'all best album of the year list and I'm side-eyeing it because I can tell who's listening to the good stuff and who's just listening to what Twitter told you to, and you trying to tell me it's dope. It ain't dope. We doing better out here, but nobody knows. Yeah, we're not getting the spotlight. It makes me very frustrated.
For sure. Can't forget about Kalani's album too, and Sid's. Yeah. Sid had some good songs on her album.
I like Sid's album a lot. I felt like I was a little in the minority on that one, but I thought it was good.
Yeah. Ed, it's time to ask you a serious question here. We got to take a break from this R&B stuff because this was a heavy discussion in the group chat, and we need people to tune in on this. You have 20 minutes to survive with one of these to receive $100 million. Do you know where I'm going with
Okay.
this, Ed?
I don't know if I know where I'm going with this.
You have to survive 20 minutes with either a bear, a tiger, a hippo, or a crocodile.
Oh my gosh, yes, this was quite the conversation. I wish Tom was here to get this. Because
Yes.
Tom was like, oh, the hippo. I'm like, player, you don't know what a hippo is.
Nope.
You will die.
Yes.
Hippos are mean and they are fast. They're fat, but they know how to move that fast. Sorry to body shame the animals because I'm gonna get canceled for that. But they're
Yes.
big and hefty and they will eat you.
Yes.
They eat people all the time. It ain't the hippo. Who are the other options?
So we got
The croc, the lion.
Yeah, the lion. Sorry, not the tiger. I think that's a lion and a bear. From my understanding, bears don't attack you unless they sense fear.
Yes. I originally said the bear.
Yeah.
But that's thinking if like the bear is coming for me, it ain't really nothing I can do. I could feel like I could evade the croc. Now they're fast too. People think that like all these things are just slow. Like when they want you, they gonna get you.
Yeah.
I feel like I could evade the croc because I could like jump on some stuff and just
Ed,
run around.
this isn't Donkey Kong. You can't just step on crocodiles.
But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to King K rule this thing. So I'm gonna go with the bear because I feel like even if I get mauled by a bear, I could probably survive. Everything else, if they want you, you're dead.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like where R&B is at this point. Anything you
mauled
drop,
by a bear.
Yeah, the Twitter fans are gonna get you no matter what. There's no winning.
There is no winning, players.
I'll be honest.
I'll have to show you my Beyonce email. I had to delete on soulandstereo.com. You know, you can comment on albums. And if you look, like there are lots of comments dragging me. It's okay. Yeah. I don't care if you drag me. If you have an opinion, whatever. But there were like so many comments that were just like, if I leave this comment up, the FBI might come for you. So I'm gonna do you a favor and take this off.
Yeah.
These Twitter people are nuts.
Yeah. Ed, can we get into love letters really quickly here?
Oh yes, it's been a long time since we've done a good love letter.
I've got two for you today.
Okay.
One refers to two people that I hold very high and dearly in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
One is a mega producer / record label owner. And the other is like my favorite female artist of all time, who's like the greatest Instagrammer of all time, Ed.
Oh my, I know where we're going with this, but please enlighten the listeners and the viewers. I know where we're going, and it's gonna be all bad.
So there was a documentary that just dropped on BET, I think last week, the Murder Inc. documentary. We haven't gotten to the Ashanti part yet. Irv Gotti is just talking about discovering DMX early on, developing Ja, working with Jay-Z on Reasonable Doubt. That's a pretty significant track record.
Absolutely.
Right there, Ed. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, and people forget how instrumental Irv was there. So I give him props there. That's about all I give him props on.
So we fast forward to him discovering Ashanti, which we have not got into yet. They made their first album together, and allegedly, because Irv is still talking about it 20 years later, they were in a real relationship, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he feels betrayed that she doesn't acknowledge him anymore. Ed, where do we go from here if we're Irv Gotti? Because he's not going to listen to you, but what should he do?
First of all, I was actually going to, for those who don't know, Love Letters is a column on soulandstereo.com. Someone actually submitted this question, but I'm basically going to answer it here for you live right now on SoulBack podcast. So look at the exclusives you get from checking out that. I hope the writer is looking at that because I ain't going to restate this. The thing that everyone seems to be missing, Irv is every bit over this. That boy married. Why are you so running up behind Ashanti when you're married, dude? Why are we talking about this? You come off looking like the thirstiest of thirst buckets because don't nobody care and you just look ridiculous. That was 20 years ago. I don't care what you were doing. It comes off as somebody who was like, you know that girl on Instagram that you all crushing over and you saved all her photos? I hit that first. Shout out to Ray J. I hit it first. Nobody cares, Irv. Nobody cares. and you're married. I hope you're having conversations with your wife and kids about this. But it seems to be lost in the conversation where everybody's like, well, I don't know what she would see in him. And why is he talking about it? Why is no one talking about the wife and the kids? Why is nobody talking about this? Why are we so messed up? And I won't even talk about the whole dynamics of like sleeping with your record producer dude.
That was a thing, you know, and you know what, like that was common practice back in the day. So no one's at fault for that. That was the norm. Not that it's right, but that was the norm.
But it ain't right. But we saw a whole lot of that back. Remember, not long ago, Rick Ross got in trouble because he said something like, I could never do a female artist because I'd end up having sex with her. And people all mad. Well, it happened all the time.
Yep.
But that doesn't make it right. But the point is, you got this dude that's like continuing to tell these stupid stories that don't nobody want to hear from a lady that he ain't messed with in 20 years. It all comes back to, you know what it comes back to? She's looking good and doing her thing. And Kyle and friends are very excited and he wants to be in the conversation because Irv always got to make it about Irv. Nobody care, Irv. Go home to your wife.
But also check out that documentary on BET, Ed. I hear there's some gems in there.
It's on my DVR. I'll check it out eventually when I catch up on episodes of Catfish. I'll watch that next.
All right. The other love letter I have for you. This is another friend of ours, a significant male R&B artist who just dropped an album here called Self-Explanatory.
Oh no, not this guy.
Ed.
Oh no.
Okay, well, the situation is the situation. We're not here to talk about that.
Oh, I'll talk about it because he's already.
Well, this is not even a love letters. This might be like career counseling and guidance at this point, Ed. He drops this album.
Yes.
Which I didn't personally really like the album. I know you thought it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
That Handle Me Gently song is like 5 stars, though. That is a great song.
He's got a couple of songs I like on that.
That is a 5-star record. But Ed, he drops this album. Like a week later, his ex-wife, comes out and blasts him publicly on social media for being a cheater. We find out that he has a kid from another lady. We're not talking about all this, Ed. We're not dissecting why he's a bad person. But in the eyes of social media, he is now the worst person of all time, which completely derails the promotion of his album. Like he just did Drink Champs recently.
He did.
And I think that was pre-recorded because one of the interview questions was like, how did you and your wife get back together during the pandemic and renew your vows? So that kind of makes this even worse now. It's like, if you didn't think it was bad enough, let me remind you that they renewed their vows recently and here we are where we are. So the promotion has been derailed. I'm sure he wants to go on tour at some point to promote this album. His female fan base is not going to look at him the same right now. They might forget 6 months from now, but right now he's walking on rocks right now. And I don't know how he's going to get out of this one, Ed. Can he get out of this? Is there a way?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to say something that's probably going to surprise some of you in that you know how critical I can be of artists who do stupid things. I'm the first one to say, like, I will never attack an artist as a person or whatever, but I'm here to tell you, if you do something stupid, I'm going to be the first one to tell you to do something stupid. And he did many stupid things. I'm sorry, he did. Neo has yelled at me before on Twitter. He'll yell at me again. It's all good. That was stupid, Neo. So that's the problem. However, we live in this very cancel culture society where when we find out that an artist that we like did something bad, it is our obligation to never listen to them again, never support them again. And if I see someone driving down the street listening to Sexy Love, I'm going to throw rocks at their windshield because you are fighting the good fight for the woman that was wrong.
Yes.
Let me tell you, player, something. I'm going to compare this to, and I'm not comparing the situations, but hear me out. R. Kelly,
no,
Mystical.
Ed,
listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's not. I'm not comparing it
Okay.
all to situations.
You didn't
But
have
I'm
to start out with
comparing.
R. Kelly because that's like the
Well,
death blow.
yes, you know
Yeah.
me. I'm going to do the most extreme. But
Yes.
hear me out. What I'm talking about are artists who have been maligned in community, social media, and whatever. And how do we rationalize their legacy? If they do something bad, should we get rid of them for good? In my opinion, as I said a million times, it needs to be case by case. If you feel like you can no longer listen to Neo because when he's singing about loving his wife or his woman, you know he loving somebody else and you can't listen to him anymore, cool. Like, leave it alone. That's fine. For me, I'm able to separate artists from art most times, and that doesn't make me evil. That's just me. But again, I'm gonna call him out. I just said he was stupid. So that doesn't mean that I support what he did.
Yeah.
I can separate it. That's my personal choice. There are artists that my wife will not listen to because they have done stuff, and she's like, I don't care how many times I like this song. I know he beat up a woman and chewed her face off. I can't deal with that. Yeah. That's her choice. But she's not gonna yell at me if I'm up here bumping, popping. Like, that's just what it is. So when it comes to Neo, there are gonna be fans that ain't gonna mess with him. There are gonna be fans that will mess with him. What I don't want to happen is there to be fans who somehow blame the wife or say, well, we don't know what she did. Maybe she deserved it. If your fandom causes you to attack a wrong party, you, sister, brother, whoever, are in the wrong. So whether it's R. Kelly, whether it's Mystical, whether it's this person, whether it's whomever, that's your choice. But don't be stupid. Recognize when somebody did something bad, but it's your choice to support their music or not. And at the end of the day, if y'all canceling everybody that did something bad, you about to have a very empty playlist because all these artists are shaded. Everybody did something. So pick and choose what's too bad for you. But I think Neo gonna feel it for a little bit. He'll bounce back.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, and not to defend him, but cheating isn't technically illegal by law, is it?
No.
It's just morally like wrong.
It's morally reprehensible, but it's not illegal.
Yes.
I mean, what R. Kelly did was illegal. Yes. What Mystical allegedly did was illegal. Yes. But the point is, whether you decide to support him or not, that's going to be your choice. But don't be running out here talking about, well, you don't know what his wife did just because you want to listen to the first album. It ain't that serious. Plus, just be an adult.
Plus, Usher made a whole album based on cheating and stuff, even though it wasn't his story. Like, people buy that stuff up and they love drama. So I think this will last about 3 months and then he'll be back on tour. We see time and time again, Ed. We like to live in the drama until So Sick plays. They'll forget all about it. And
it's
groove
always,
like it's 2005.
Player, y'all talk so big on Twitter until your song drops. And then all of a sudden those tweets are deleted. That's why I don't take half of this stuff seriously. Because it's just like y'all just talking for the clout.
So, Ed, it's tough out here. But I'm sure Neo will turn it around. But we've got a couple more albums that are set to drop in the next coming months, Ed, here. Tank, R&B Money, the final Tank album here.
The final Tank album. And I'm going to be nice. We know. Y'all know.
Yep.
Again, I have no problem with Tank's artistry, and I'm sorry to hear that he's had these health issues. So I'm really hoping that I have not been a fan of the last few albums. That's well documented. But we know his talent. I really hope he goes out with a bang on this one. I have high hopes for it. I think it's going to be pretty good.
Babyface is going to be dropping sort of like a duets out. It's his DJ Khaled moment. He's going to have R&B female artists on all the songs. We've heard the LMA record. I think the one with Kalani just dropped. I think this is pretty smart of Babyface to try to figure a way to incorporate himself into this generation.
It's very smart, and this generation, as we just talked about earlier, needs a lot of help with that pen. So I think this is a smart move. To be fair, I don't love either of the songs yet. They're good, but they haven't grabbed me. So again, high hopes for this one because it's Face. Face really disappoints. So I'm hoping that he got some sleepers on that album.
Yep. Um, is it time for us to talk about Normani and Chloe? I'm just kidding.
No, we're not talking about those two. Oh my God.
And I just have to say this. Everyone's at fault here. The stands need to leave these people alone and let them create. But at the same time, and I'm not just singling out Chloe and Normani, but this goes for a lot of artists. I feel like they share too much about what's going on in their creative process. Like,
They exactly
and I think
do
that's
that.
what causes us to have these expectations on it needs to drop tomorrow. Don't say anything until you're 100% sure. You've gotten the green light from your label, all of that. Make sure that's all in order before you announce anything. Ed, it's like announcing that you have a new job before you even sign the paperwork, before they even
Ex-
sign the paperwork or send you the paperwork.
exactly. It's like you took a job interview and you're like, well, I got a new job. And then you didn't. And I understand it's hard for these artists to do.
Yeah.
This is why we need more artist training. Y'all get mad. It's like, oh, they're trying to change you. Nobody's trying to change who you are. We're trying to keep you smart. But the point is this: we live in a generation where it's different for me. I think you're kind of on the borderline.
Yeah.
But like, I come from a generation pre-social media. I'm smart enough to know not to put all my business out there. But if you were from the social media generation, putting all your business on social media is just that was how you express yourself. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. So they think me saying, oh, my album's coming out this summer, or, oh, I hate my label. That's how they stay connected with their fans.
Yeah.
Problem is that will cause you problems down the line, and y'all got to learn. This is an art lesson, not just for artists, but all of you listening. Think before you hit that enter,
Correct.
that submit on that tweet, please, because you got all these artists saying all this stuff, making all these promises. Kyle, you're from the generation. Well,
Yeah.
I know Tom was. You might remember this when like DMX album would come out or Ludacris, and you look in the back and it would say all these albums are coming soon, and it's like
Yes.
so and so March 2003 or and then none of them would come out on time. So
True.
like we're used to this, but this generation is so used to. Well, Normani said she's coming in the summer. Summer's almost over. She lied. She probably didn't lie. They're just things that held it up. Scissors, another one. Like you
Yes.
don't know what's holding it up. So artists, chill out. Don't put all your business out there. Fans, calm down and be patient. Everybody, chill, please. My timeline needs it.
And if you're gonna put out an album, don't do what Monica did. Don't name it Chapter 38 when you're no longer 38. How old is Monica now? Let's see.
Monica's a smooth 47, and we ain't seen that album yet.
She's
I don't know
41.
what's going on.
41, Ed. 41.
Chapter 38. Oh, shout out to my boy Derry, because he knows. He knows.
Yep. Ed, I think that's it for this week. I know we covered a lot.
Well, it was a long time. We had a lot to get through.
And we'll get back here next week. I know we've been gone for a minute. I'll be honest. I'll tell you what happened here and why we've been gone. So aside from the wedding planning and stuff, I've decided, just like Omarion, because I read Omarion did this with B2K before they reunited. Omarion charged them $15,000 each or something like that to even get him on the phone because he needed to see how serious they were about this. They were about this reunion, and they actually gave up the bag to talk to Omarion. The tour happened, so they got their money back and a lot more. But that's the approach I'm taking at this point, Ed.
Player, if you waiting for me to come up off the bag before we do this podcast, this will be the last episode of SoulBack. Good to see you, everybody.
Ed, without me on this podcast, you guys are like, are you still down? With me on the podcast, you guys are me against the world.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Please end this podcast so I don't have to end you. Please.
Shout outs to Ed for his Tupac rankings. You can find that on soulandstereo.com.
Yes, check that out on Soul and Stereo. Soul and Stereo cheap plug. So I got the rankings of pop. If you follow me and you know my hip hop expertise, I ain't the biggest pop fan, but I can be unbiased music reviewer and I can tell you which albums are great, because there are some great ones, and which ones are absolute cabbage stank booty. And there's a bunch of those too. So check out Soul and Stereo. I got your hookup there. And I don't know if we've had a podcast since I've started the YouTube page. Soul and
That's
Stereo
right.
is on YouTube now. I kind of put out a couple videos a month. I just did an R&B Q&A yesterday as of this recording. So go check that out. People submitted questions and I talked about the state of R&B, Whitney versus Mariah, Beyonce's most definitive album, all that good stuff we talk about here. I talk about on the YouTube channel. Soul and Stereo. You watching this on YouTube, just put Soul and Stereo in there. Go
Yep.
like your boy.
I forgot to mention, Ed, do you remember Mashonda, our girl Mashonda?
Of course I remember Mashonda.
So she's dropping a new EP soon, so just stay tuned for that. But
very coincidental timing saying that Keys just came out, but
Keys 2, number 2.
She could have kept that too, because I'm sure it smells
Ed.
like. And I'm chilling. I'm drinking my juice. I'm drinking.
Here's what we will do next time when Tom is back. You won't be drinking juice next week. You'll be drinking vodka with us because we are going to play a game here. We're going to listen to the Tupac discography all together live on the podcast. And we will take a shot every time Tupac rhymes penitentiary, elementary, Tennessee, enemy. If he does any variation of those 4 words, we're taking a shot. I don't think we'll make it.
I promise you that by the first album, Tom will be on the floor. We will have poor little Mav taking his dad to bed.
And that is that. So, guys, that's it for this week. I appreciate you guys for your time. A lot that we talked about, a lot more that we still have to talk about. Ed, it was good doing this with you again. I appreciate the fans for tuning in. You can rewatch this when we post it later. But Ed, I guess we're out of here. It's super hot right now, so I got to get some water.
Player, go get some water. I'm going to cool off too. Rest of you players, have a good one.